What if your morning cup of coffee was doing more than just waking you up? What if, within minutes of that first sip on an empty stomach, it was triggering a cascade of ancient survival signals inside your body? Imagine your stress hormones surging, your stomach lining flooding with acid, and your cells shifting into a state of high alert, mobilizing energy as if preparing to escape imminent danger. Social media is a battlefield of opinions on this. On one side, you have wellness influencers issuing stark warnings, never drink coffee on an empty stomach. On the other, you have seasoned coffee lovers and some scientists who say it's completely harmless. So in this daily ritual practiced by millions, who's right? The answer isn't a simple yes or no. It's written in the language of your cells. Today, we're shrinking down to the cellular level to discover what actually happens inside your body when you drink coffee before breakfast. The moment that warm, aromatic liquid enters your stomach, the main ingredient, caffeine, begins its surprisingly rapid journey. Unlike many nutrients that have to navigate the complex machinery of digestion, caffeine is a VIP molecule. It gets absorbed with remarkable speed, slipping through the walls of your stomach and small intestine directly into your bloodstream. Within about 15 to 45 minutes, peak caffeine concentration is reached. It's now circulating throughout your entire body, a microscopic messenger on a mission. And its primary destination? The most complex organ you own, your brain. Once it crosses the protective blood-brain barrier, caffeine performs its most famous and celebrated trick, the one that transforms us from groggy to focused. But it's not what you think. Caffeine isn't giving you energy, it's performing a brilliant act of deception. To understand this illusion, we need to talk about a molecule called adenosine. Throughout the day, as your brain works hard, it produces adenosine as a byproduct. Think of adenosine as your body's natural fatigue signal, or a gentle brake pedal for your brain. As adenosine molecules build up, they plug into specific receptors on your nerve cells, telling them to slow down. This is what makes you feel progressively drowsier as the day wears on. Here's where caffeine's trickery comes in. On a molecular level, caffeine looks remarkably similar to adenosine. It's like a key that's been cut to almost the exact same shape. So when caffeine arrives in the brain, it slips into those adenosine receptors, blocking them. It's essentially sitting in adenosine's parking spot, preventing the real fatigue molecule from docking. With the brake pedal blocked, your brain temporarily stops receiving the message that you're tired. Your neurons start firing more rapidly. You feel awake, alert, and sharp. But it's vital to remember this. You're not actually creating energy. You're just removing the sensation of fatigue. You're borrowing energy for later, and that debt will eventually come due. Now, with the brain's fatigue system temporarily offline, things become more interesting on a hormonal level. Your body has a natural rhythm. Every morning, your adrenal glands produce a hormone called cortisol. Cortisol gets a bad rap as the stress hormone, but in the morning, it's essential. It's part of your natural wake-up call, helping to regulate blood sugar, blood pressure, and metabolism to get you ready for the day. But caffeine, especially when consumed without food to slow its absorption, can stimulate the release of additional stress hormones, including more cortisol and its partner, adrenaline. For some people, particularly those who are genetically slow metabolizers of caffeine, this effect is more pronounced. Your body, sensing the surge of stress hormones without any incoming fuel from food, can interpret this as a signal that something is wrong. It thinks action is required, that a threat is near. The result is the classic fight-or-flight response. Your heart beats faster, your focus narrows, your senses heighten. For some, this feels like a superpower, a clean, sharp jolt of productivity. But for others, it tips over into uncomfortable territory. Jitters, a racing mind, heart palpitations, or a general feeling of anxiety. This is your nervous system being pushed into a state of high alert. For most healthy people, this response is temporary and well-regulated, but it perfectly explains why one person's morning ritual is another person's recipe for anxiety. This hormonal surge has another key effect, and it has to do with your energy supply. When cortisol and adrenaline levels rise, they send an urgent message to your liver. The message is simple: release stored energy, now. Your liver complies by breaking down its stored glycogen and releasing glucose, sugar, into your bloodstream. Again, this is a brilliant survival mechanism. If your body thinks you need to run from a predator, it wants fuel available immediately for your muscles. For most people, this temporary bump in blood sugar is managed without issue. But for some, especially those with underlying insulin resistance or type 2 diabetes, this process can be problematic. Studies have shown that caffeine consumed without food can temporarily impair insulin sensitivity, meaning your cells have a harder time pulling that sugar out of your bloodstream. One 2020 study even found that a strong black coffee consumed after a poor night's sleep significantly impaired the body's glucose response to breakfast. This doesn't mean coffee causes diabetes, but it highlights just how deeply this simple drink can interact with our individual metabolic chemistry. Your biology truly matters. Now, let's address one of the most persistent coffee myths: dehydration. You've probably heard that coffee dehydrates you because it's a diuretic, but is that actually true? The answer is more nuanced. Caffeine does have a mild diuretic effect, which means it can make your kidneys produce slightly more urine. However, what we often forget is that a cup of coffee is over 98% water. For moderate coffee drinkers, the amount of fluid you consume in the coffee itself largely offsets the small amount of extra fluid you might lose. At the cellular level, 1 or 2 cups of coffee isn't suddenly going to dry out your cells like raisins. The real issue arises only when coffee begins to replace water as your primary source of hydration, especially during intense exercise or in hot weather. So, enjoy your coffee, but make sure you're drinking plenty of plain water too. Moderation, as always, is key. While your brain and hormones are busy, your stomach is having its own distinct reaction. Coffee, due to its acidic nature and various compounds, stimulates the production of gastric acid. For many people, their stomach lining is robust and this causes no problems at all. But for others, especially those prone to digestive issues like acid reflux, GERD, or gastritis, drinking this acidic beverage on an empty stomach is like adding fuel to a fire. Without the buffering effect of food, the increased acid can directly irritate the stomach lining, leading to heartburn, indigestion, and general discomfort. This is the physiological reason behind the starkly different experiences people report. It explains why your friend can down an espresso first thing and feel fantastic, while you might take one sip and immediately regret it. With all these potential warnings, you might be thinking coffee is the villain of this story. But here's the twist. Coffee is one of the most studied beverages in the world, and the overwhelming body of research points to significant health benefits. Moderate, regular coffee consumption has been associated with a lower risk of type 2 diabetes, Parkinson's disease, and several types of liver disease. Some massive population studies have even linked it to a reduced risk of overall mortality. These benefits are often credited to coffee's incredible richness in antioxidants and other bioactive compounds. So, coffee itself is not the enemy. The real question is not if you should drink coffee, but whether drinking it on an empty stomach works in harmony with your unique body. So, let's bring it all together. What actually happens to your cells when you drink coffee before breakfast? In short, it's a full-body alert. Caffeine molecules race to your brain and block fatigue signals. Your adrenal glands release stress hormones, temporarily increasing your heart rate and sharpening your focus. Your liver mobilizes stored energy, releasing sugar into your bloodstream, and your stomach increases its acid production. Your body, in essence, shifts into a state of heightened readiness. For many of us, this process is handled smoothly and feels like a welcome boost. For others, it contributes to jitters, digestive pain, and anxiety. The ultimate lesson from this journey is that your body isn't a simple machine with a universal user manual. It is a highly individualized, complex biological system. The best advice is found not on social media, but by listening to your own internal feedback. Pay attention to how you feel. Experiment thoughtfully. If coffee on an empty stomach makes you feel jittery or unwell, try having it with a small, protein-rich snack. Remember, coffee isn't inherently good or bad. It's how, when, and why you use it that truly matters.